During a field trip, kids have an opportunity to make a connection with concepts that they may learn in the classroom, but they get to see real-life objects and they can connect with that material in a very different and hands-on way.
We want to make sure that an institution like the Museum of Natural Science is open and available to as many people as possible.
There's a lot of research that goes into going on a field trip with any students with disabilities. Some institutions may have resources in place already and you can take advantage of those, but even if an institution doesn't have any resources in place, you can still create something to bring with your students that'll better facilitate their visit. Whether that is visiting the institution ahead of time as an educator and figuring out what might work for your students, or creating different hands-on activities to bring with you.
So in this workshop at South by Southwest Education, we're going to talk a lot about the importance of object-based learning. We're going to talk about why going on field trips to object-based institutions is really important for for students of many different kinds, and especially students of special needs. And we're going to give you some examples of some resources that you can create ahead of time and work on that will make that visit easier.
A sensory tube can connect with the exhibits that you see in a museum, so it can help a child interact with that exhibit, know the content of it a little more and relate to it. It also creates a fidget that they can take to the exhibit with them. This is an example of one that I created to connect with our Butterfly Center here at the Science Museum, but you could easily make one to relate to any exhibit or institution that you might be visiting. There are little ants and insects in here, and it's green to be a similar color to a rainforest. This one's a visual tube, and then we also have auditory tubes that are really easy to make, so you can put things like jingle bells, different gems, stones in here that make different noises, and that sometimes helps children to have a fidget with them as they're going through an exhibit.
For students that are blind or low vision, there are a variety of things that you can do to prepare them for their visit ahead of time. For an institution like a science museum where you can't really touch a whole lot of things and it's tough to get a good visual on things like a dinosaur skeleton or the outline of an animal, you can create a puff paint outline. So what we did here was we took the skull of a Tyrannosaurus Rex and some puff paint like this and outlined the edges so that a child would be able to feel what it's like along the outside. That way you can get an idea for how that skull is shaped, or where the brain might be, or how big those teeth are compared to the rest of the animal's body.
We have sensory backpacks that are available to check out. They contain things like fidgets, ear defenders, sunglasses, which are great for any students that might have autism spectrum disorders or have any sensory sensitivities. And then we also have an app that's great. We have a map of the museum. There's also interactives, communication icons that people can use. So that's been a really effective resource.
So these resources are really important and really useful because they're customizable. They're great for students with abilities and disabilities, and can function in a lot of different ways depending on what the needs of each individual student are. As the educator for all of these students, whether neurotypical or not, you are best equipped to be able to provide them the resources they need to succeed on a field trip such as this.
As a museum, our mission is education, and if we're not including as many audiences as possible, we're not truly fulfilling that mission. So we want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable at the museum, and some people just need a few additional resources to be able to access the content that we have here.